moves? Who is starting? Who's injured? What does it all add up to? It's time for Around the NFL on Ermanni and Edwards with Maz.
Here we go, guys, and that is a great open for us.
Yeah.
How about it?
I like that.
How about it?
Let us know that was coming.
There you go.
Nobody goes around the NFL like we do. And let's start you off with the Texans making Derek Stingley the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. 3 years, $90 million extension.
Yeah, it was the reason why he was drafted third overall 3 years ago. The guy can play. He can play then and he can play now. He has a shutdown corner in every sense of the word. When you're paying A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyreek Higgins and all these people, Amon-Ra St. Brown, when you're paying wide receivers $33, $35, $30 million, well, you're going to have to pay these guys that run with them the same amount of money. So I don't have a problem with this at all. Get your bag, and it's a good defense. This made it better. I love it.
Guys like Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch are licking their chops right now.
You got to pay DBs as secondary members. Like, this is an air assault type of NFL now, so you got to play the guys on the back end, not just the guys on the D-line.
The former Lions #1 draft pick, Jeff Okudah from Ohio State.
Who?
Jeff Okudah has signed with the Minnesota Vikings. So Okudah back in the NFC North. We get to see him. What's your take on Jeff? Does he have anything left in the tank, guys?
Sounds to
Still
me
a young man.
Sounds to me like more things Vikings fans will get excited for no reason.
Yeah, I wish him well. I mean, we fellow #3 overall pick, so, we share a brotherhood. I hope that he can figure it out, but sometimes you know. Eli Apple is one of those cornerbacks, same kind of deal. Ohio State, you pick him early in the draft for New York, it doesn't work out, and you see it just doesn't work out. Sometimes, the number doesn't meet the player, and I think this is one of those cases. But shout out to him, another player for us to abuse with that offense.
He's only 26 years old, and, a guy like Eli Apple, he lasted a long time. Different teams.
He did.
But he lasted a long time.
Got cooked along the way.
He did. He was baked apples.
Just the thing about DBs, though, it's tough to get bodies. You get a body on a guy that runs 4'4" low, 6 foot, you figure it out. As long as he's not super atrocious, you figure out a way to find and be a body of fourth DB or something. Or
the reason they pay those DBs is because two guys you just talked about. The Cincinnati Bengals finally took out their wallet, and they paid their guys. Jamar Chase, 4 years, $162 million. T. Higgins, 4 years, $115 million. And Trey Hendrickson is on the docket. Supposedly, the Brown family is about to pay him as well.
This is what happens when you wait to the end. This is what happens when you wait too long. They could have got all these guys for much cheaper. They could have re-signed Jamar Chase last year, T. Higgins the year before that, Trey Hendrickson. They could have worked these deals out a lot better, but they waited. They're a horrible franchise. They don't pay. But now, in order to keep your fan base, in order to keep butts in the seats, you got to pay Jamar Chase, because it let it get to a point where all the media outlets and all the fan bases. See, back in the day, players didn't have that power. Like, I couldn't come out and say things of nature. Like, my play wasn't enough to speak. If the GM or the owner doesn't want to pay you, or they don't want to move along, then they come out with a narrative, and that's what the narrative is, and that's what the fan base goes with. But now, having social media, sometimes it's good. You can put your information out. Every time these guys come, they come to play. So it's stupid that they waited this late, but if you don't pay these guys, who's coming to the games?
Bray, man, you guys are both the NFL encyclopedias residents here. Can you guys think back to a team that's put out this much money for two premier receivers that it's worked for? Because it didn't work for San Francisco.
Right. No, and that's what I said. I don't think it's a smart idea, but they put themselves behind the 8 ball. At this point, what do? Because you got to pay T. Higgins. You got to pay Jamar Chase. You got to pay, because you already paid Joe Burrow. Once you paid Joe Burrow, you had to. It's never happened. And it's stupid. 100%. It's never happened, and it's stupid.
Probably should have traded T. Higgins and gotten something for him instead of paying two guys like that.
That's why
Especially
I
in a
thought they were
season that was so razor thin last year.
They're going to try to win
with no
on
defense.
offense, because let's face it, their defense is like a sieve, except
Agreed.
Trey Hendrickson, maybe a couple other players as well. But
I agree.
That's where they got to patch up. So we'll see if they can continue to outscore people. Remember last year against the Baltimore? They scored in the 40s both times.
And lost.
And they lost.
Both of them.
They lost.
This is what happened with lazy organizations,
Exactly.
lazy franchises.
With
We
bad
draft
food.
Joe Burrow, #1 overall. He falls into our lap. We get Jamar Chase the year after that. Joe Burrow comes back from injury. He leads you to the first offensive line ever to start a Super Bowl. Worst offensive line ever. And oh, by the way, the defense featured Eli Apple as a starting DB that year. So you luckily somehow you beat in overtime Patrick Burrow at Arrowhead, and you get into the Super Bowl, and to be honest, had a chance to win that Super Bowl. So what that did to the owner, as opposed to saying, you know what, let's pay these players, let's keep this thing consistent like the Lions have done. Oh, okay, well, let's just keep it rolling. Let's just keep rolling the dice and see what happens. Let's hope we get there. And that's what they're in now, because now they didn't get there the last 2 years. Now they had injuries. Now it's like, well, we got to pay, because to get to the playoffs is to make money, is to make revenue. What you got?
Hey, Burns on the board. Burn for $5. Bengals tied with the Steelers and Bears. The Packers behind them as the poorest owners in the league. Cincinnati praying for a slam dunk draft. Thank you, Burn.
And shout out for that super chat. Just keep in mind, whoever leads the day today in the super chat is going to get an autographed Braylon Edwards rookie, and then we're still adding it to the month-long competition for that Pistons
next
parlay
Thursday.
package.
We pull the winner.
Yes, we
My
did.
thing, we've never accused the Bengals of being a smart franchise at all. They've had some success and gotten to the Super Bowl. They've never won it. To me, this seems more like a keep Joe Burrow happy move and less like a smart football move.
Yeah. It's definitely not a smart football move at all. It's not in any regard. I don't want anybody to misconceive just because I'm a wide receiver. Look, I'm glad they got paid, but this was stupid. It's stupid to have $276 million tied up into 2 wide receivers.
So, okay, does this set the precedent for next year, all Lions fans calling for us to spend $20 million on J-Mo?
Yes.
No, because I think next year they're going to have to make the decision that we thought about. You can't pay everybody. Talk about a team that won't overpay. It's the Detroit Lions. They're well ahead of the curve. They're not the Bengals. They stay ahead. They're going to pay Kirby this year. Next year will be Hutchinson time. And then you got to look at J-Mo, see how he did this year.
Let me ruffle some feathers in the chat here. If Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka are there when we're picking, do you think it's out of the realm that this regime sees those as the biggest impact to this roster and would take a wide receiver in the first round? Because neither of those guys should be on the board still when we're picking.
Right.
And we're going to be faced with a true decision at that point, because either of those guys makes this offense even that much better. But what it really does is it takes the pressure off of what you have to do with J-Mo.
And it keeps them away from other teams as well. So, that's quite a thought.
Who do you prefer out of those two? Burden?
What role am I looking for? A 3?
No, you're looking for the true 2 on this team. Not his first year, but a future 2 that allows you to not have to pay $20, $18 or more million for J-Mo.
Emeka Egbuka, but if you ask me if he's going to be there in the first round, do I draft him? No, because defensive line is where we have to go.
Okay.
Right.
Like, I'm stuck on defensive
I
line.
agree. I agree.
Even if he's there, I'm like, nah. Because if he's there, then the Lions didn't do what they need to do in the first place.
I
which
just
is
keep
move up.
seeing so many local, Lions people that are, podcasters here at the network, everybody just searching for an edge. After the first 15, 20 picks, the edge talent really takes a big drop off. Some really strong offensive linemen at the end of this, some very good interior linemen at the end of this, but there's going to be some really good wide receivers too, and we've seen their track record. They're not trying to fill a position. They are trying to find an impact player.
I say the Lions will trade up and get that defensive end that they want.
Harmon?
They got a guy, I don't know. Green. They have a guy in mind. They're going to, if he's there in the middle somewhere,
I agree.
You could bet that Brad Holmes will move up and get him.
I agree.
And that was my agree, because I'm thinking they're moving up this year. They have to move up. If they still are in the same position and somehow Emeka Egbuka gets there, I still think you offensive line or defensive interior. I'm still with that. I just think that's where you need to go this year.
I don't think Green will be there. I do like that.
But I'm saying move up.
No, I really think that this is a move up draft. And
when people hear that, not to cut you off, because people hear us say that, and then people are like, oh, what are you gonna do to go up to number 3 and 4? Moving up doesn't always have to go into the top 5, top 6. In fact, we know all well about it because our favorite number here happens to be 12. For some reason, we keep moving up to 12. 12, 11, I'm comfortable. You get Green, nice edge rush out of Marshall, somewhere along those lines. I'm not moving up past 12, 11. Like I wouldn't be comfortable.
I don't think you're going to see them need to do that. I think
Agreed.
it's a low 20s type of deal where you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, this team, you got to remember, they did get a 3rd-round pick for AG going to the Jets, but then they also get a 4th-round pick for Carlton Davis.
That's correct.
And a lot of people don't remember that. So you can look at moving that late 3rd-rounder, knowing that you still have 2 4th-round picks. You can move that 3rd-rounder to get from the late 20s into the earlier 20s. This is what they do. It's in their DNA. They've done it multiple times. Don't be surprised when they do it again.
I trust them when it comes to the draft.
Do we give Brad, because remember the DJ Reed situation. DJ Reed, he comes in, he's not as good as Carlton Davis. He's a little shorter. He has a lot of penalties as well, blah, blah, blah. But now you look at it, you get a 4th-round pick as well as DJ Reed. Like, do you look at that pickup, that situation a little differently, or are you still like...
And $4 million.
Yeah.
So that's a free Davenport with $3 more million.
I do look at it differently.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
They picked up that extra compensatory pick. That's why they're in the business, man. That's what he likes to do. Yeah. So we don't like what he does with free agency. At least I don't. But I love what he does with the draft. So
and Maz, that's fair.
I put it in there.
You have every right to feel that way.